Welcome to Reclaim Within, where we explore what it truly means to reclaim your inner world through trust, through conscious creation, through building a healthier relationship with being human. I am Ash, and today we are going to be diving into what I believe is the most foundational exploration that I have ever done, which is building your inner kingdom. My hope is that by the end of this episode, you will feel empowered to start the journey towards stepping into creation in the moment-to-moment experiences of your life, and equipped with some practical tools for how to step into self-mastery and inspire you to cultivate an inner foundation that is so strong that no external force can shake your clarity and your conviction. So life is full of movement, ups, downs, turnarounds, challenges, joys. And to be honest, a lot of us seek certainty, and myself included, for a very long time. And even still today, I still do this. But we seek certainty outside of ourselves, in relationships, in our routines. There's so many things that we're seeking outside of ourselves. And what happens is if something outside of ourselves steps off the course that we maybe perceived it to be on, what happens is that we end up reacting. And to live from a place of reaction is the opposite of creation. So asking yourself, do I respond to what's happening outside of me from a lens of reaction or creation? And to be honest, we're all human, so it might be both. Maybe feel like, how often do I lead with creation and how often do I lead from reaction? And let's break this down. Like, what does that even mean? So reacting is us come from where we're always on guard and we're always in a place of fear, judgment, or reactivity, or resistance. And so if we're constantly coming from fear, judgment, reaction, and resistance, there's no way we can be in touch with creation. And creation is what orients us towards life. Life, the living world outside, is in constant flow. It's in constant movement. Creation is happening all the time. In order for us to be in alignment with that creation and in alignment with life, to be in that creation space, we have to learn how to build these foundational orientations to the world so that we can actually navigate ourselves and we can navigate our relationships. I truly believe relationships are the most important thing that we have in our lives. It doesn't matter who you are, you're in relationship with everything around you. And so do you orient to those spaces and places around you from a place of sacredness and connection, or are you in resistance to what's happening around you? I was talking to a friend the other day, and she was speaking about how she's shifted, how she makes the beds in the morning. And it brought so much joy to my heart to just see her stepping into being the creator versus just reacting to the next thing she had to do. She was speaking to how in the morning when she makes the beds now, she reminds herself that this is for her family who she loves, and she wants them to get in the bed and feel cozy and feel good. And it's a sacred act to make these beds. That is coming from creation versus reaction, being like, I have this that I get to get done, I get to get this, I got to get that done, and then this has to happen. Oh, and I'm late for this thing over here. That's reaction. That's coming from a place of frustration, fear, constant bombardment. And we've learned to do it to ourselves. We've just taken this and embodied it without even realizing that's what we're doing. A lot of it has just been passed down. So the invitation is that instead of being at the mercy of the external forces, you learn to build an internal foundation so strong that no matter what life brings, you can meet it. Meet it with attention and attunement and maybe even some wisdom, and trust that whatever is happening, it's happening for you. That is one of the hardest lessons, and also the most profound lesson I've ever learned. Everything is always happening for us. That is coming from a place of creation. There is something sacred in all moments of life. Either it's initiating us into what we're here to do and how we're here to heal, or it's bringing us closer to the sacredness of our lives. We have to engage with it in that way. We have free will. It is the most important part of being human. We get to engage with our whole lives in every moment from that place. So constructing a sacred space inside of yourself, or that's what I call building an inner kingdom, is to root yourself deeply in understanding that this is about cultivating a space within where self-trust and alignment with life, with creation, becomes the guiding force. So ask yourself, what is my current foundation built upon? Is it built upon fear, doubt, reactivity? Or do I orient more from trust and from integrated wisdom and from clear truth in my own knowing of what's true for me, or otherwise clarity? So the work requires a willingness to be with yourself, take responsibility for the way that your life orients, to be able to study your own patterns and examine the narratives or the stories that you hold. So what does that mean really quickly? We are constantly telling stories to ourselves. We are constantly taking what we feel and then reacting to that. Somebody could step in front of you in the coffee line, and all of a sudden there's a whole story built up. And if it's a negative story or like a fear-based story, it's, oh, this person is so inconsiderate. They don't even care that I was in line. How rude are they? Yes, maybe some of us have been there. Or maybe they step in front of us and we go, I wonder why they just stepped in front of me. This is really interesting. And maybe even I ask, hey, excuse me, did you know that I was in line before you? And they maybe turn around, they say, oh, I'm so sorry. I just got out of line because I had to go to the bathroom with my little girl, but I'm right back in it. And this is my husband right here. Like, but the stories we've told have already put us into a reactive state before we even knew that. So we end up accidentally ruining our own days without even realizing it. So learning to build an inner kingdom is not about control, I will say. It is not about controlling the outside world. It is not about being able to dictate. It's actually about deepening the relationship with yourself and the relationships with the people that you have around you. Because every single relationship that you have in your life right now, every challenge you have, every repeated pattern, it's all just a mirror revealing something about what you've built internally or what you've inherited internally, but either way, you've built it. So, do your thoughts reinforce trust in your life, or do they cultivate fear? Do they orient me towards creation and trusting life, or do they keep me locked into cycles of reaction and suffering? Do they encourage honor, dignity, and respect, or do they reflect patterns of dishonor, disconnection, and disrespect? When you ask yourself these questions, I really hope you know I'm not trying to come from any place of judgment. What I really want is to encourage you to get really, really clear with where you're at. The more we can get real with ourselves, the more clarity we can have, the better the baseline is for us to actually be able to evaluate if the foundation that we're working with is something we enjoy and that we want to keep, or to be able to recognize where the internal structures need rebuilding. So when you ask yourself these questions and you get answers that you might not love, it's okay. It's good. Like, let's find that and use that as data to be like, okay, I have some places in my life where I am actually not orienting towards creation. Great. That means I can learn how. That means I now know where I need to put my attention and my intention so that I can reshape that space. And here's the thing. I have learned, I would say in the last decade or two, I have learned from my own personal experience of having lived in a very reactive, fear-based state for a long time, to building my own inner kingdom to be able to shift to a place where, yeah, sure, sometimes I still react, but the ability I have to be in choice with how I react and the way I react and how that reaction keeps going or how I repair the reaction is completely shifted. And what I've learned through my own lived experience is that all of us, we are far more powerful creators than we even realize. Instead of consciously creating, however, a lot of us just spend all of our energy reacting to everything that we don't want, or putting all of our energy into just hating all the things that we can't change or we can't do anything about. That is a waste of your precious, precious life force energy. So what would happen if you shifted your focus from resisting or hating on what you do not want to actually just building what you do want? Building your inner kingdom requires tools for self-mastery and intentional living. So here's a few tools that I have found to be the most profound and have created the biggest shifts for my internal world and my external world, for my relationship with myself and my relationship with so many people that I love. Setting boundaries, number one, that protect and honor your sovereignty and your integrity. To learn to set boundaries for me was one of the scariest things I have learned. I don't know if it's like the Midwest girl in me or something, but that one was super hard for a long, long time. But it has completely transformed my relationships with myself and others. Huge. 2 is understanding projection and how it actually distorts relationships. The relationships that we have with people that we love the most, we will project on, especially the closer and more intimate we become. But when we learn, which I'll be teaching this in the workshop, when we learn how to work with the projection, it can become the greatest tool that we have in our tool belt. 3, recognizing the ego and learning how to work with the ego versus against it. Revolutionary, I swear. And then lastly, holding multiple realities and allowing complexity to exist. This one is a game changer. If this is the only thing you learned to do, your life would get 100 times more peaceful overnight. So at its core, this work is about creation and creating your internal compasses. It was inspired by one of my most fond teachers who I've spent such a long time working with and working under. And then I had another teacher who came in there and just walloped me into being like, share this. She just gave me the push I needed to be able to actually open this up to the public. So when you build your inner kingdom from the inside out, when your sense of clarity and security and empowerment actually comes from this connection to yourself, it's a lot harder for anybody else to get you to react or to pull you off your center. It still happens. We are all human. It's going to happen. But the snap back into alignment can happen quicker. Okay, so most people move through life responding to external forces. And I think we've driven home that that's what building an inner kingdom really is all about. It's about becoming the architect of your own reality. It's learning how to actually become in alignment with life itself, to trust life, trust in the process of creation. And it is not always easy. It is not always beautiful. Think about how Mother Nature works. It's not always a beautiful sunny day. Sometimes it's a torrential downpour. Sometimes trees get struck by lightning. Like, things aren't always beautiful in the animal world, in the natural world. Sometimes fires blow through cities. So the process of creation can sometimes be hard to trust. And yet, it's one of those beautiful paradoxes where the more you actually trust life, the more that path opens up to you, the more you can actually orient to being alignment to creation and what feels good. You know that you have that foundation of an inner kingdom. No matter what life brings, you become very adaptable. It requires a lot. It requires total self-responsibility, which is actually a lot harder than anybody thinks it's going to be. It requires deep self-reflection, a lot of unlearning, and the courage to rebuild. I think the courage to rebuild anything takes a lot of heart. But when you commit to this way of being, your entire world can shift. And I know this because my entire world has shifted. You can become connected. You can feel like you belong wherever you go. You can walk with more wholeness, and you can have more clarity that when life hands you all the unexpected, uncertain experiences, that you'll meet it and you'll learn from it and you'll move through it. And that alone allows for more peace and freedom that's not dependent upon the external, but built from within. So if this path resonates with you, and if you're ready to lay the foundations for a life built on understanding, conscious creation, and to understand how to anchor yourself into the world and be able to navigate from the inside out with understanding new orientations to yourself and to the relationships that you have in your life. The 10-week workshop on building inner kingdoms starts this April 10th, Thursday mornings, 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. In this journey, we'll be exploring 25, maybe more, but right now I've got 25 powerful, powerful concepts that I promise will help you navigate your inner world and the outer world. I have compiled all of the things I've learned from my teachers who have spent their whole lives navigating this. Plus, I've also added in a lot of my own maps that I've used to be able to allow myself to make sense of things. I've always just really loved maps, and they're this beautiful way to work in the realm of the psyche, to be able to anchor ourselves into life, to have something to push against. Or another way I like to think of it is like we're all little kittens playing with these yarn balls and pulling them apart, but we need these anchors to be able to build the inner kingdoms, because we need to find where we stand, where we need to pull and where we need to push. How do we orient with people who don't agree with us or who we don't agree with them? So all of these concepts, all of these anchor points, all of these tools will help you navigate your inner world with greater clarity, help you recognize and shift patterns that are either unconscious or that are just come up to the surface as you live life, because it's a living method. So it's a method that you live by. Building your inner kingdom is something that you cultivate and create with. It tunes you in with the natural world. It tunes you in with light. So you can rebuild the inner structures and align yourself with more harmony. I'm seeing this workshop as more of an initiation into a new way of being or a new way of seeing, a way of life where you can feel that connection and be able to actually pull apart, how do I function and why do I function this way and how do I want to function differently? And those questions are so palpable and so important. So if you feel the call, I would love it if you would join me. I'd love it if you'd come and build something sacred with me, starting from within. I'm so excited to get to share this knowledge and help you embody it. I really hope that the maps and the concepts I get to share with you become focal points so that you can actually keep working with them and working with them. It's not information that stops once you've got it in your psyche. The people I know who I've taught these classes to before, they're still finding deeper and deeper understanding and deeper truths out of these core concepts that I'll be teaching. It's really cool to get to keep in relationship with them and see how years later they're like, oh, I get it even deeper now. I get even more clarity now. I thought I understood and I had no idea. So please reach out to me. You can email at me at reclaimwithin@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Substack, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, all those places. And I would love to hear from you. I'd love to be able to speak more with you about this. So if you just want to sign up for a discovery call, head over to my website, which is reclaimwithin.co. And you can start there and sign up for a discovery call with me, and we can just talk more about it. I'd love to learn more about you and what you're interested in and why you're feeling compelled to shift consciousness and to build your own inner kingdom. So until next time.